Here recently, the folks over at GL-iNet reached out and asked if I'd be interested in taking a look at their Beryl travel router. And once I looked at it, I absolutely had to say yes. The Beryl's got OpenVPN, it's got WireGuard VPN, both client and server. It's got Tor built into it. It's got an internet VPN kill switch to help protect your data in case you lose your VPN connection. But let's talk about all of that after we take a look at the hardware itself. So here we can see the top of the router, and it's very, very simple with just a little branding there on the top. And if we flip this over, we can see that there is just a little light bar right there that just lets us know that it's on with just a very standard light. It doesn't really do anything, doesn't flicker or anything like that. Just a nice little glow that lets you know that it's working. If we flip over to the back, we can see that we've got three network ports. These are all 1 gig ports. We've got one WAN port, 2 LAN ports, as well as a USB 3 port and a USB-C power port that uses 5 volts, 3 amps, just like a Raspberry Pi 4 does. If we flip over to the bottom, we can see that there is some more information about the device itself, input power, the SSID, the key for the SSID, MAC addresses, serial numbers, things like that. That's all on the bottom, very easy to find there. So if we flip over to the side, we'll see that there are a couple of buttons, well, a button and a switch. The power button here does exactly that. Turn on, reboot, reset. The mode button actually does a couple of things that we will talk about later. Just know that there is a mode switch, not button, switch there on the side. And if we flip over to the other side here, we'll see that when we lift the antenna out of the way, there is a micro SD card slot there that we can use for file sharing and that sort of thing once we've got it enabled in the firmware. So here I'm going to go ahead and plug this in so you can see what it looks like as it's booting up. So we'll go ahead and plug the power port into the back. Okay, so now that we've taken a look at the hardware, let's jump over to my desktop and take a look at the setup process and kind of what the dashboard looks like. So let's jump over there now. So here we are on my desktop, and this is I just did a full reset so that we can kind of go through this together and get an idea of kind of what we're looking at here. First thing it wants you to do is choose your language. There are several languages in here, so be sure to choose the one that's appropriate for you, and then click Next. At this point, you'll be asked to enter a password, so I'm going to go ahead and do that, like that. And then, of course, next you'll click Submit. Okay, so here we are on the dashboard, and I guess I should have mentioned, in order to get to the dashboard, you have to put in the IP address that's listed on the bottom of your device. It should be 192.168.8.1. That's where we went, and here we are signed in, and we can see some stuff up here like we're connected via cable, and we've got a couple of wireless networks available. We've got a 2.4 gig network as well as a 5 gig network. There are guest networks available, however, by default they are not turned on. And then over here, we can see that we have one LAN client. I could also connect my phone and things like that, just like any other router. So that's just kind of the gist of what we're looking at on the dashboard up there. Below that, we can see that we are connected via cable. The protocol is DHCP, so it's going to pull an IP address from my router. We can see the IP address that the router has assigned it, as well as the net mask, the gateway, and the DNS servers. I could go in there and modify that to be static or PPPoE. I'm just going to leave it as DHCP for now. That's fine. The other thing that we can do is actually set this up as a repeater. We will get back to that, but I just want to know that what that does is lets you connect this wirelessly to a wireless network as opposed to having to use a cable. This way, let's say you're at a hotel, you're at a coffee shop, something like that. You could set this up and connect all of your devices through the Beryl using a wireless connection to a third-party wireless network. So we'll come back to that, but just know that that's what that is for. There's also an option for a USB modem that we could plug, or for tethering from your phone, I guess, is what we're looking at here. If your phone supports tethering, you could do that, as well as if you had a 3G or 4G wireless modem via USB-A, you could plug that in here as well and do the same thing and connect via that. If we come over here to the wireless tab over here on the left-hand side, we can see that by default we have a 2.4G Wi-Fi network, and it is pre-named. It's got all the pre-configuration done just out of the box. You could, if you wanted to, modify that and show, you could change the SSID, the security, the password, whether or not the SSID is visible when you're scanning for networks, that sort of thing. All of those are available. You can adjust your transmit speed. So maybe you want it to be low. You only want devices that are fairly close to it to be able to connect versus the high power, which will broadcast to the wireless network farther. So that's completely up to you how you want to handle that. There is an option to optimize the channel. So it'll kind of do a scan, figure out what channel makes the most sense for your current setup, and then adjust the wireless channel to that rather than the default that it's set up to. Same thing goes with the wireless or the 5G wireless network here. Of course, that is 5 gigahertz wireless network, Wi-Fi, not 5G, the cell signal. So just something to be aware of there. And of course, all of the same options there. You've also got a 5G guest Wi-Fi that you can turn on and off if you'd like. You can also turn these on and off independently. So if you only wanted to broadcast 2.5 or the 2.4, you could do that by just turning off the 5G or the 5G network and vice versa with the 2.4. So that's kind of what we're looking at there. Of course, if you wanted to come in and turn this on for the guest network, you could absolutely do that just with a quick toggle there, just like that. And of course, then it takes about 10 seconds or so to fully engage that and get it ready. Now we can click on clients over here. Right here, we can see that there is just one client. Again, I will connect my phone later to do some testing for wireless purposes. But just for right now, I've got one device here, and we can see the IP address that it's been assigned. It's MAC address. That's a MAC address for the network card that's built into my motherboard. Can't change that, but that just kind of shows you what it is. And you can block that device if you see something on your network that you don't want to have access, or you decide, hey, I don't want that device to have access at the moment. You can turn that off. However, I wouldn't advise blocking your only device. Otherwise, you'll have to do a full reset by pressing and holding the power button for about 10 seconds for it to do a full factory reset. So just something to keep in mind there. If you wanted to, you could turn on real-time traffic if you wanted to see if there was a specific device that was consuming more of your bandwidth, that sort of thing. Of course, like it says here, that does require a higher CPU load. So that's what we've got there for clients. Below that, we've got an upgrade option. Here we can see the current version, the compile time, and when it was the last or the most current update that is installed on the device. Everything here is current, so nothing to do there. If you wanted to, if you had a custom firmware, for instance, you could drop it in here and install it that way. And then auto upgrade, you can tell it to automatically upgrade anytime there's an update available. I don't advise doing that as sometimes updates brick things, and it's always good to know what you're getting into before you actually run an upgrade. So there's that. Next over here in the left-hand column, we've got a firewall. The first tab here is for port forwarding. You've also got open ports on the router, and you can set up a DMZ for basically all of the ports on any specific device to be open. You just select whichever device you want that to be. If you want that, turn it on, select your host, and click apply. Below that, we've got some options here. Now, this is one of the cool things that I really think sets this apart from a lot of other routers out there, in my opinion, is that it does have the option to be an OpenVPN client or server. It's got the option to be a WireGuard client or server. It's got an internet kill switch. So basically, if for whatever reason you lose connection to your VPN, it will automatically block all of your traffic so you don't accidentally leak something via an unencrypted channel. VPN policies, you can actually say, hey, I only want certain devices to use the VPN. You can specify which devices use it and which devices don't in here. And of course, you've got Tor, where you can set up your exit node country. Of course, you would want to make sure that that is enabled. Now, one of the things that I just wanted to kind of run through that real quick, but I wanted to kind of touch base on the client and the server stuff over here. So let's take a look at the client. Right here, it's saying OpenVPN is often used to connect to OpenVPN servers. So the thing about the OpenVPN client here is kind of twofold here. One, you could actually set this up to connect to your home network if you had an OpenVPN server set up on your home network. That's one way you could facilitate connecting to your network. You could also use this, let's say you've got PIA, NordVPN, something like that, where you can download an OpenVPN file. You could then upload that here. You could then connect all of your devices using only one license seat versus having to connect each of your individual clients, your phone, your tablet, your whatever. So you take up one license connecting to this that way. Hopefully that makes sense. You could also set this up as an open VPN server if you wanted to do that. Again, it is a slower protocol than WireGuard is, but you definitely have the option to do that and remotely connect to it via OpenVPN, an OpenVPN client on another device. Now, the same thing applies to WireGuard, whether it's the client or the server. If you want to set this up as a WireGuard client, you want to make sure that you come over here, click that. Then you can select a couple of options here. They've got a couple of options as far as a provider is concerned, where you'd also put in your username and password. So like, let's say I wanted to use Mullvad, which I actually have a Mullvad account just specifically to test this out. Basically, you just put your account number in there, click next, and you're good to go. So let's actually do that. So I'll go ahead and just paste that in there, click next, give it a name, Mullvad, like so, click add. So now it's going to go through this process of importing all of the information that it needs to connect to the Mullvad servers.
A few moments later.
All right, so now we have some options. Do we want to allow a connection to the local network? That is completely up to you. So like it says here, turn this on with caution. Now you have a bunch of options here as far as where you want to connect. There's a bunch to choose from. So if we actually come over here to management, we can see that there's a ton of them in here. Yeah, okay, so it's still pulling things in. So I guess before I was just being impatient, go ahead and give this a little while to do its thing. And eventually, as this comes in, you should start seeing more and more servers to choose from here. I think the last one we saw was there were 202 to choose from. Let's do one more refresh and see how many we get on this one. We'll go to management, like so, 219. Tell you what, let's just connect to Australia 3 there. We'll click connect. There we go. Now it looks like we have an IP address. So then if we go over here to Google IP, like so, I don't mind showing you this IP address because that is not my home IP address. I'm pretty sure that if I were to click here and show what's going on over here, this may even go so far as to show that I'm in Melbourne as far as the servers are concerned based on my IP address because I'm connected to a Mullvad VPN. So again, let's jump over here. Again, we could set up our own WireGuard server so that we could remote into this connection in the future if we wanted to, but we're not going to do that. That's kind of a bit above and beyond what we wanted to show in this video. But to do that, really all you have to do, initialize the WireGuard server, download your files or scan a QR code and you can connect as long as your modem or any other upstream devices have the appropriate ports forwarded to this device. That is one of the downfalls of setting this up, or really setting up any VPN server, is the port forwarding that has to be done in order to make sure that everything works the way you want it to. So let's take a look at this internet kill switch right here. So with this option enabled, you need to set up the router as a VPN client for any of the router's clients to be able to connect to the internet. So basically, again, so basically, if you lose your connection to your VPN, all of your internet traffic will stop to prevent leaks, things like that, and keep all of your information as safe as possible. So that's what's going on there. We can come down here to more settings. We are going to go to applications, but we're going to skip it for just a moment. Here, I do want to make sure that we take a look at some of these settings. Admin password is exactly what you think it is. It allows you to change your password from whatever it was when you set it up to something new if you need to or want to. Your LAN IP, let's go ahead and take a look here. Again, what do you want your LAN IP to be for your subnet, your start IP, your end IP, things like that. You can go ahead and set all of that up. You can also come in here and set reserved IP addresses or static IP addresses by just selecting that and clicking add. And now anytime I connect to this device, to this router, I will always have that IP address. So that's how easy that is. Your time zone. Let's come over to here. UTC, that is wrong. Let's go ahead and sync that. Hey, that's right. So now we're good. That's how easy it is to configure your time zone. Your MAC clone, if let's say you've got this plugged into a modem, some ISPs are real particular about what they allow you to plug in. So if you needed to spoof a MAC address to make your modem think that this is a different device, you could do that. You don't need to, but you could if you need to, this is how you would do it. I don't need to, I guess is what I was trying to say there. So we're just going to go ahead and leave that alone. IPv6, you can turn this on and off. That's up to you, however you want to handle that. Custom DNS servers. you could absolutely do that. There are some security things that you could do in here, like DNS over TLS using Cloudflare or NextDNS. You can actually choose whichever one you want to use there. Your DNS crypt proxy settings. Maybe I'll have to click apply before I can do that. Let's go ahead and refresh that page and let's see if those options change. Nope. Let's just do this and click apply. I mean, the more protection we've got via DNS, the better, in my opinion. And let's see, no options there to change. So, but having DNS over TLS for additional security, great option. Really do appreciate that. The button settings. This is one that I'm actually really stoked about. So when we were looking at the device itself, we saw that there were some buttons on one of the sides as well as a switch. This really should say switch, not button. But basically what you can do is you can say, hey, turn the WireGuard, the OpenVPN, or the toggle on or off, depending on which one you want. So if it's to the left, WireGuard is on. If it's to the right, WireGuard is off. And that's true for any of these services that you select here. I like being able to toggle that off and on very, very quickly. So that's what that little switch on this side of the device is for. Here we can see there are some additional settings here for how you want to handle this, whether it's an access point, a router, an extender, whatever the case is, you can select that right here. Revert firmware. Let's say you screwed something up and it's not working properly anymore. If you can still access the dashboard, you can revert to the standard out of the box setup by clicking revert now. And of course, advanced. Nothing installed here. Let's go ahead and actually install Lucy. Hopefully that will let us do that. Routers refreshing the repository. Please wait a while. Oh, there we go. So now we're going to go ahead and install Lucy. So basically what this is going to do is give us access to like the actual operating system. This is just a scan that goes over the operating system to give access to a certain number of things.
A few moments later.
Okay, so here we are a few minutes later. It looks like this is installed successfully like it says here. So what we can do is click close right here and then actually click the link right there to go to the actual OpenWRT dashboard. So username by default is root. And then whatever password you used when you set up the original dashboard, we can just go into there. We'll give this just a moment. We're going to say no to that. And here you can actually get a full breakdown, a full actual dashboard for WRT versus the GL-iNet skin that they've put on their own custom dashboard on top of this. So if you really want to dig into this, OpenWRT is a video all on its own. So we're not going to dig too heavily into this. Just know that that's how you access the OpenWRT dashboard, is to install Lucy in the advanced settings. Okay, so now that we've taken a look at all of that, let's jump over here to the applications and kind of get an idea of what we've got available. Now, if we come into here, we've got a ton of plugins that are available to us in theory. Now, what I can say about this is that when you are looking through these, like this says it's got AdGuard Home available to it. Now, I spent 2 days trying to get AdGuard Home to work before I realized that some of these applications are device specific. So if you try to install an application and it doesn't work, your best bet is to head over to the GL-iNet or the GL-iNet forums and see if that particular application is available for your specific device. There are a lot of applications here. Here you can see that it looks like there's 8 or 10 listed on this page, and there are 995 pages. What I advise you to do first off is actually come up here and click update, just because initially when I went in here the first couple of times, I didn't see everything that was available until I clicked update. So we'll give that a second to refresh, and then we may actually even get more applications available to us. So it doesn't look like we got anything different here, but if you wanted to, let's say, look up for DNS. Now there are 23 pages of DNS options here that you could, whether it's protecting yourself from China DNS poisoning to DNS traffic input plugins. There's just tons of dynamic DNS scripts. lots and lots of stuff in here. So you will want to play around with that. Search through there, find applications that you're interested in, see if they work. Unfortunately, there are just too many applications to go through and test to see which ones work on this device and which ones don't. But you do have a plethora of different applications that you can test out to see if they'll work. Below that, we've got file sharing. File sharing isn't installed. So, of course, what we'll need to do is install that. We're going to go ahead and click install on both of those. Now, in order for the file sharing, to work, what you're going to need is to plug a micro SD card into the micro SD card slot on the side, like I showed. Or you can plug in an external hard drive into that USB 3 port. You can pick and choose, but I think you only get the option to use one of them. Okay, so file sharing is enabled. Let's go ahead and do multimedia file sharing as well. We'll give that just a second to do its thing, and then we'll take a look at both of those. Okay, so now DLNA is enabled. So let's go ahead and click close there. So you can share via DLNA, and then you can select what you want to have access to your share. So let's just go ahead. We'll do both of those. We'll click apply, and we'll click apply. And now we should be able to share files from our SD card in this case. So let's jump over to here. Like so, and right here, we can actually see this OpenWRT DLNA server. If we open that up, there are all of your folders that you can use to share files between other devices on this network. So pretty straightforward as far as that's concerned. If we jump over here, we can say, hey, do we want to have remote access through Good Cloud? If we do, then you'll need to have a Good Cloud account set up. Or do you want to enable dynamic DNS? You can do that. And you can select any of these that you want to use. The captive portal, let's say you wanted to just have a guest portal where people had to go to a dashboard and sign in. The captive portal would work for that. IGMP snooping, if you want that enabled, you can read that. So if you want to enable that, you can just by clicking that and clicking enable, or clicking apply rather, and giving that a chance to do its thing here. Okay, so now, of course, there's some questions that we want to answer, like what can it do for internet speeds and things like that. So let's jump over here and let's just do a speed test, like so. Now, keep in mind, I am connected via Mullvad here. Here we can see that I've got that Australian IP address still. So it's thinking there's a Melbourne server from Swoop Broadband. So let's go ahead and click go and see what kind of speeds we get over Mullvad's WireGuard VPN. We got a huge ping time. Of course, again, I'm on the other side of the world from them, but I'm still getting more than 100 meg connection using a WireGuard VPN connected in another country. So nothing wrong with that. We'll give this a second. Looks like we may hit 20 to 30 megs as far as an upload is concerned, which is still, again, using a WireGuard VPN. That is pretty spectacular. So not bad speeds overall. So next thing we want to do here, let's actually go back over to here. Let's go over to here. And let's disconnect. Let's go ahead and let's refresh this. And I will have to block that, of course. That is my home IP address. And then again, let's jump over to here. We'll go back to speed test. And I'll block that IP address as well, but I'll click go. And then we'll get an idea of what kind of actual throughput it gets. I've got a gig down, give or take. So let's see what kind of ping and what kind of download speeds we get here. One thing I also wanted to point out here is that there doesn't appear to be hardly any jitter in this. Once it connects, it's a good, strong, solid connection. So super happy with that. So now what I want to do is actually disconnect my cable and connect via the repeater option here. So I'm just going to click scan just so you can see what it picks up for wireless networks that are available. All right, so here are all of the different all of the different networks that it finds in the area. Let's see if I can find mine, which will be right there. And I'll type in, there is my wireless password that I've typed in. Of course, you can't see that. So I'm going to go ahead and click on join. All right, there we go. So here we can see that I am connected via the Bergs. That's my clever name for my Wi-Fi network at home. And here we can see that the IP address that I got from actually from my Ubiquiti hardware here. We can see the net mask, the gateway, the DNS servers, all of that is still available here. So let's actually come back over to here and go back to our speed test. Now, again, keeping in mind that I am connected wirelessly on this device. to my actual wireless network. So let's go ahead and click on go. So 17 instead of 10. Okay, so 40 megs down. Again, we are in a wireless to wireless repeater situation here. Still getting 40 megs down, not terrible. It would be more than enough to get your work done, say in a coffee shop or something like that. And of course, I'm matching that as far as upload speeds are concerned. So still not a bad connection, though it's still not the full connection that I would get otherwise. And again, I do want to point out here, there's basically no jitter in any of that. Once it's connected, it's a rock solid connection there. Looks really good as far as those lines are concerned. So super happy with that. Okay, so here we are on my phone. So let's take a look at my wireless setup here. Right there, I'm connected to the Bergs. What I'm going to do is actually click right there and connect to my 5G connection on the Beryl device. Go ahead and give that just a moment to do its thing. So now we're connected. And let's go ahead and come back over to here and click on speed test. Go ahead and give this just a second. Again, I'm connected via Xfinity on this device. That's great. Go ahead and click go. Now, keeping in mind that we are connected wirelessly to the Beryl device. However, it is plugged in, hardwired into my modem. Here we are, we're getting more than 300 megs down. There's a little jitter, not too bad, 2 milliseconds of jitter. I can live with that. Again, 330 megs down. Let's take a look at our upload speeds. Again, about 40 megs up. That's pretty much, well, 30, let's call it 30 megs up, give or take. But that basically saturates my upload speed as far as Xfinity is concerned. Okay, guys, so I know this has been kind of a long video, and I think that speaks to the device itself. There was a lot to cover and unpack and talk about, things like that, to make sure that we really saw the full potential of what's available with this Beryl device, whether it's having a WireGuard VPN server or client, or an OpenVPN server or client, being able to connect via Tor, having remote access, an internet kill switch, file sharing, just what VPNs, firewalls, so many things to talk about, and that we did talk about actually, to really show the full potential of what is available with this Beryl device. I want to give a big shout out to GL-iNet for sending this over and giving me the chance to take a look at the device itself. I will have information in the description down below where you can go pick one of these up for yourself. Any of the additional information that I deem relevant will also be down there, so definitely check out the description down below for any of the information on how to pick one of these up. So while you're down there, once you've scrolled down into the description, keep scrolling a little bit further for me. Let me know what your thoughts are on this Beryl device from GL-iNet. Very cool device in my opinion. It's very simple aesthetic, and I can tell you that this will absolutely be in my travel bag moving forward. I really wish I'd had this when I traveled to Idaho to see my family a couple of months ago. Would have been a lifesaver, but moving forward I'll have it, and very, very excited about that. But I think with all that being said, I'm going to go ahead and wrap this up. As always, thanks for your time. I always appreciate your support, and I'll talk to you in the next video.